Please subscribe to this channel before watching this video. And don't forget to like, comment, and share this video. Thanks. Sadio's heart pounded as he ran, his feet kicking up dust on the narrow path out of Bamboli. The sky was dark, but he didn't look back. His mother's voice was still in his ears, soft but worried. Stay, Sadio. Football won't fill your stomach, she had said, eyes tired from long days in the field. But Sadio couldn't stay. He was 16, and his dream was bigger than his village. He gripped his small bundle of clothes tighter and forced his legs to move faster. The car was far, and he had barely enough money for the bus. If he missed it, there was no second chance. The bus station was empty, dark except for a flickering bulb. The driver looked him over, bare feet, torn shorts, eyes wild with hunger and hope. He almost drove off, but something in Sadio's eyes stopped him. Get in, he grunted. Sadio sank into a seat, chest heaving. As the bus roared to life, he pressed his face to the glass, watching his village fade into the night. His hands trembled, but his jaw was tight. No turning back now. The car was chaos. Cars blared, people shoved, and the air was hot and sour. Sadio's stomach growled, the single bread he had eaten already a dull ache. His feet were blistered and raw, but he couldn't stop. The stadium was close, and he had one shot. But when he reached the gate, a guard blocked his path, ice cold. No street boys, the guard backed, shoving him back. Sadio stumbled, almost fell. Desperation clawed at him. Please, he begged. I can play. Just give me a chance. The guard snorted. Come back with boots and a rare jersey. The gate slammed shut, but Sadio didn't leave. He circled the stadium, eyes darting, and found a hole in the fence. His heart pounded as he squeezed through, breath tight in his chest. He ran onto the field, stealing a ball, feet moving fast and sure. Coaches turned, eyes narrowing. One whistled, sharp and hard. Sadio froze, but didn't let go of the ball. Who are you? A man demanded, arms crossed. Sadio, he gasped. I just need one chance. The coach looked him over, bare feet, dirty clothes, eyes blazing. After a long pause, he threw a pair of old boots at Sadio's feet. 5 minutes, he said. Prove it. 5 minutes was all Sadio needed. He moved like lightning, cutting through defenders, each step faster than the last. His passes were sharp, his shots powerful. When the whistle finally blew, he was gasping for air, knees shaking. The coach raised an eyebrow. You play like that every time? Sadio nodded, breathless. Be here tomorrow at dawn, the coach ordered. That night, Sadio slept beneath the stadium bleachers, the ground hard and cold. But he smiled into the dark, boots clashed to his chest. His stomach was empty, but for the first time in days, hope burned bright and strong. Months passed in a blur of sweat and bruises. Sadio trained until his legs gave out, until blisters bled and healed over. Nights were cold, mornings colder. But he didn't stop, didn't slow down. Then came the match that changed everything. Scouts watched from the stands, eyes sharp. Sadio played like a man possessed, scoring twice, assisting another. When the final whistle blew, he could barely stand. A scout cornered him after the game, a contract in hand. Ever thought about playing in Europe? He asked, lips curling into a grin. Sadio stared, throat tight. France was far, far from home, far from Bamboli, far from his mother's arms. But he thought of the dry fields, of children running barefoot, of his mother bending low over crops. He took the pen, hands shaking, and signed his name. France was nothing like home. The air was sharp and icy, and teammates eyed him with cold smiles and sneers. They mocked his accent, shoved him in training. The coach hardly looked his way. Sadio clenched his fist, beat back anger, and trained harder. Extra hours, extra drills, long after the others had left. His legs ached, and his back was raw, but he forced himself up each time he fell. Weeks passed. Then, finally, a chance, a starting spot against a top team. Sadio played with fire, his feet a blur, his shots bullets. He scored twice, the crowd's roar almost drowning out the hammer of his heartbeat. That night, he called home, voice cracking. "Mama, I did it," he whispered. "I really did it." Her voice was soft and warm, and for a moment, the cold didn't bite so deep. Senegal's World Cup run was electric. Sadio scored in every match, leading them to the quarterfinals. The nation held its breath as they faced off against a top team. 90 minutes deadlocked, the scoreboard frozen. Then came the foul, clumsy and desperate. The referee pointed to the spot. A penalty. Sadio stepped forward, hands trembling. The world seemed to shrink to the ball, the goal, the keeper's eyes. He struck clean and hard, but the keeper lunged, glove snapping shut. The ball stopped dead. The stadium fell silent. Senegal was out. Sadio sank to the ground, hands over his face. The hate poured in fast, death threats, curses, blame. Headlines screamed of failure, of betrayal. He couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. Each time he closed his eyes, he saw the ball stop short, saw his nation's dream shattered. He returned to Bamboli broken and silent. But the village was waiting, crowds filling the square, faces bright with pride. His mother pulled him close, eyes wet. "You are our hero, Sadio," she whispered. "No matter what." Years passed in a blur of matches and trophies. Sadio built roads, schools, clinics. Each victory was for the children playing barefoot, for the mother who never stopped praying. One night, he stood alone on the village field, the stars bright and endless above. He dropped to his knees, fingers sinking into the earth. Glory, he realized, wasn't in the trophies or the money. It was here, in the dust and the dreams, in never forgetting where he came from. Sadio woke up drenched in sweat, the nightmare fresh. The penalty miss haunted him, replaying every night, the keeper's gloves, the ball stopping dead. No matter how many goals he scored, how many trophies he lifted, the shame clung tight. He threw himself into training, extra laps, extra drills. Even the coach stared, eyebrows raised, as Sadio ran alone long after practice ended. His teammates laughed behind his back, whispering about the World Cup, about failure. Sadio clenched his fist but said nothing. The Champions League was his chance at redemption. The stadium lights were blinding, the crowd a living beast. Sadio moved like lightning, cutting past defenders, eyes fixed on the goal. 90 minutes in, the score was tied. Then came the pass, long, low, and perfect. Sadio sprinted, boots pounding the grass. He met the ball clean, a bullet strike. The net bulged. The roar was deafening. His teammates swarmed him, but Sadio's eyes were glassy, heart still heavy. One goal couldn't erase the past. Success brought money, and money brought trouble. Agents circled like vultures, promises sweet and false. One offered a deal, millions if Sadio switched clubs, left his brothers on the pitch behind. His coach warned him, voice low and firm. "Careful who you trust, man. Not everyone's in your corner." But Sadio was desperate to build more schools, to dig more wells back home. The contract was signed, the ink barely dry before betrayal struck. The papers screamed scandal, tax fraud, unpaid dues. Sadio's face was plastered across screens, eyes hollow. The agent was gone, money with him, leaving Sadio to face the storm alone. Fines drained his accounts, lawyers bled him dry. Sadio's head pounded with every headline, every glare. His mother's voice on the phone was soft but tired. "It will pass, Sadio," she whispered. "God is watching." But the nights were long and dark, and Sadio felt like he was drowning. The phone buzzed past midnight, dragging Sadio from troubled sleep. The voice on the other end was shaky, a childhood friend from Bamboli. "It's my sister, she's sick. We can't afford the hospital," the boy begged, voice cracking. Sadio was on the first flight home, hands tight on the armrest. When he landed, the village was dark, quiet but for the cries from the small clinic. The girl was pale, breath shallow, eyes half closed. Sadio's chest clenched. He paid the bills without thinking, eyes fixed on the frail figure on the bed. The doctor's words were sharp, medicine was running low, supplies almost gone. The hospital Sadio built was cracking under the weight of so many lives. That night, he stood outside the clinic, fist trembling. Fame was worthless if his people were still suffering. He called his lawyer at dawn, ordered new supplies, paid out of pocket. His account balance dropped to nearly nothing, but he didn't care. The girl survived. Her mother wept, hands clasped tight around Sadio's. And for the first time in months, the weight on his chest eased, just a little. Injuries came next, bad ones. His knee twisted wrong in a brutal tackle, the pain blinding. The doctor's words were grim, months out, maybe longer. His club moved fast, new signings, whispers of replacements. Reporters circled, vultures sniffing blood. Sadio trained alone, pain a knife with every step. He washed matches from the bench, jaw clenched so hard it ached. The world moved on without him, headlines forgetting, fans quick to praise new heroes. But Bambali didn't forget. His mother's calls came often, her voice warm. The village children sent letters, drawings of him in their own shaky hands. "Come home, Sadio," his mother begged. "Just for a while." He did. The plane touched down, the air thick and hot, and Sadio breathed it in deep. The village was waiting, crowds filling the square, drums and songs rising. Hands reached for him, faces bright with pride. His mother pulled him into a tight hug, eyes wet. "You're enough, my son," she whispered. "Win or lose." That night, Sadio played with the village boys on the dusty field, barefoot and laughing. The stars were bright, and for a moment, the pain faded. Months passed, rehab slow and grueling. Sadio's legs ached, but he pushed harder, eyes fixed on the goal. Each step was agony, each drill a battle. Reporters called him washed up, fans turned cruel. His first match back was against a top team. The coach's eyes were doubtful, voice uncertain. "Ready, main." Sadio only nodded, jaw tight. The whistle blew, and the world shrank to the pitch, the ball, the goal. Tackles came fast and rough, bodies crashing. His knee screamed, but he didn't slow down. In the final minute, the score was tied. A corner kick soared in, defenders lunging. Sadio rose above them, head meeting the ball with a crack. The net rippled. The crowd exploded. Teammates tackled him to the ground, cheers deafening. But Sadio's eyes lifted to the sky, breath shaky. For the first time in years, he felt light, free. With the new contract came money, more than Sadio had ever dreamed. But he didn't buy mansions or fast cars. Instead, he returned to Bamboli. Schools were built, wells dug deep, clinics stocked with medicine. He trained village boys himself, hours in the sun, showing them how to pass, how to strike. His mother's garden grew, lush and bright. "Why do you come back?" a reporter asked once, microphone thrust forward, eyes sharp. Sadio's smile was small but steady. "Because this is home." Years passed. Trophies gathered dust, boots wore thin. But Sadio's legend only grew, stories of the boy who ran away with nothing but a ball and a dream, who came back with everything and gave it all away. Sadio stood on the village pitch, sun dipping low, shadows long. Children's laughter rang bright as they chased a ball, bare feet kicking up dust. His mother watched from the porch, eyes soft and proud. The air was warm, the earth steady beneath his feet. Sadio closed his eyes, breathing deep. Glory wasn't in the stadiums or the money. It was here in the fields of Bamboli, in the children with stars in their eyes, in the roots that ran deep and strong. He smiled, eyes bright with tears. Some dreams were too big to fit inside stadiums.